Shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well. Blessings and salutations to the whole elect. News in the gospel, brother, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. What the hell is this? Yep, this is another lesson through the Spirit. Lord's will to be edifying. Going into the famine, as we know that we're in a time of the Lord's judgment playing out on the planet Earth, predominantly here in America as well, and there will be famines and food shortages. And I got a couple of videos listed in a queue that I wanted to speak on regarding this famine because, see, food insecurities are real. Okay, now that's not that it's a shortage of food, but it's just how they're going to ration these goods off to people and what class of people will be or will have access to these type of goods and essentials. Because remember, going back to the during the time of the P. Dizzy, the pandemic, remember how they was rationing certain things off, especially like when it came to toilet paper, you may have like a limit to 2. And in some cases, you know, they ration things off because there were shortages, you know, but with these tariffs hitting again and Trump putting tariffs on different countries, it's looking like that these things are getting ready to intensify because, see, Trump's whole ordeal is to do away with the dollar, to bring in his digital technocracy, to put everything under one grid, so to speak. So food shortages or food insecurities, increasing rents, you know, bills are going up, energy levels are going up, energy prices are going up. The price for new cars have went up between 4 to 8% on a tag of a new car, which taxes is crazy, you know. So yeah, people getting ready to start feeling it even more, and this is going to cause people to crash out because, hey, they say if you don't have nothing to lose, you lose it. And food is a big form of comfort for people here in America. And if you do the studies, they mentioned that a lot of times people binge eat because they're depressed or they're stressed out. And we understand that living in Babylon is a very, very stressful life because Babylon goes back into the Hebrew word babal, which means bitter. And people are they're bitter. They're stressed out. People are losing jobs. Bills are going up. You know, the money isn't stretching as long as it did before. So people are at the point now that, hey, they binge eating, watching shows, getting high, getting drunk. You know what I'm saying? Doing things, spending a lot of money that they don't have. So push come to shove, when shit hit the fan and they don't have anything to offset those stress factors, people are just going to go batshit crazy, which will lead to chaos and riots in the streets. And I've always said that once they take the food, that's when these people are going to revolt. Okay? Give the people bread in circuses and they will never revolt. But once they take the bread in the circus, or if they don't have any bread for their circus, people are going to lose it, man. So there will be a famine here in America, okay? And people will resort to cannibalism, eating their children, eating their sons, their daughters, their brothers, their sisters. It's going to get pretty brutal out here in these parts, man, you know? So anyway, I got a couple of videos I'm going to play. Some of these came out maybe a month or 2 ago, still pretty recent. But we have to remember that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, just like he brought the famine in Egypt and he destabilized the economy, the scriptures say that the Most High is going to do the same thing to this modern day Egypt. So, hey, embrace.
On food supply, imports are being impacted right now.
Fair use, by the way, fair use.
Due to new tariffs, this means fewer food deliveries, a trusted source in a major grocery chain says delivery trucks are coming in only half full, and some food items are gone by noon.
That little bag of groceries, I guarantee that's probably like a $300 purchase. All right, she got maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe three, 4 bags of grocery. She probably paid every bit of $400-$500 for that small amount. I'm talking about I can go to the store and buy roll of tissue or a pack of tissue. I can buy some household essentials, maybe like 2 things of juice, and come out my pocket with $20. Like orange juice for like the I think like the 64 ounce. Shit like them at $5, man. I remember just last year, the year before last, hell, the price of eggs was what, $10? In some cases, $20, man. You know, I mean, they've pretty much went down, but even then, paying $4 or $5 for a price of eggs, which is the cheapest source of protein on the planet Earth outside of chicken, is just like, why? We know, but we understand that this is the Lord breaking the pride of these people because, hey, you Babylonians are highly entitled to something that technically you never really worked for.
Urgent update on
That small amount may only get you through the week, if that, maybe a week and a half if you're lucky, if you know how to stretch. All right.
Shit is not a joke. This is literally Shanghai port right now. Every single one of these circles and shapes that you see is a ship that is not moving. Now let's take a look at America. This is LA, one of our busiest ports, and nobody's home. But it's not just LA. This is Seattle, and the same thing in DC. Like, this is not good.
Yeah, and those are port cities, you know, when a lot of imports and exports go out, imports come in. You know, those are the docks and so forth where, you know, the country gets its supply of food and goods, you know, major ports, and they deliver them, and they dock them, they undock them, and then they, by truck, they deliver them to these distribution centers, and from the distribution centers, then, you know, the trucks come in and deliver to their respective stores and routes. But there's been a shortage on things, you know.
Just for reference, here's China again. And these articles are not lying. Huge decline in ports have hit truckers. Empty shelves are looming for the summer. This is literally basic supply and demand. None of the ships are coming in, so we're not getting any supplies, and the demand is going to rise, meaning the price is going to be crazy high if you're able to get it at all. So not only are we paying for Trump's tariffs, we're about to get destroyed by price hikes. So it's clear that the wealthy don't care whether we eat or not. When the shit hits the fan, the one with the seeds is going to be the one with the wealth. This is a seed bank from Lush and Dew. They give you seed banks based off the zone that you are in the country. I live in Florida, so I'm in zone 9, and these are the herbs, vegetables, and fruits that grow best in my soil. It also comes with a grow guide that shows you how to grow your seeds, when to grow your seeds, how to plant them.
Seeing in the same time, Jake trying to sell you some shit too, so.
I need all the mothers stock up on baby food, baby formula. I'm at the Walmart in Hempstead. I had to go get some formula for my godbaby. The specific formula that she needed is not on the shelf, so I asked about 2 employees. They both told me the same thing, that they have not gotten inventory in a week. In a week. Yeah, this is getting real scary. You know it's bad when the top shelves is a little empty, because the top shelves is always the back inventory. But look what's going on with the tariffs. They're stopping.
And it's called breastfeed. These women are in trouble, man. But this is going back to the time of the tariffs, when, you know, the tariffs hit hard. China was in America and China was in a major trade war, and they was getting the better of America because, for one thing, China don't need you, especially if they start dumping your treasuries. What you gonna do? You see. But anyway, man, I got another.
Hello,
video.
everyone.
This is a vision from a lady that she had. May 24th. It's called "Be the Salt, Shine Light." Which, you know, some of these things you can take with a grain of salt, but then in some cases there is authenticity within these particular revelations that these people have, because we understand that this is the Lord. He's pouring out his spirit upon all flesh. And ultimately, we know what the scriptures say about famine and pestilence and civil unrest, which we're swiftly entering into.
Saturday, May 24th, 2025, and I wanted to share a dream that I had early this morning. So in this dream, I was walking into this big house along with many people, and it was like a lot of people, and we were all just walking into this big house. I was holding a little boy's hand to my right and a woman's hand to my left, and I knew that this boy was my son in the dream and this woman was my mom, but it wasn't my actual son and mom in real life. It was like I was somebody else in the dream. And the place looked like it had security and was guarded. And people were being separated by age. So like they would walk in together, but once they got to a certain point, they were separated. So we got to the point where we had to be separated. And so I let go of the woman's hand and she had to go to a different area, but I kept walking with the boy. And I heard in the spirit, pay attention to their reaction when being separated or when they had to let go of each other's hands. So I did. I looked at the lady after I had to let go of her hand, and she looked very sad. So people didn't want to be separated. And I kept walking with the child, and I walked down a set of stairs. We got to an area where children were sitting on the floor, like together, waiting to get food. And there was a man and a woman who were like in charge, I guess, and they were in charge of giving out the food. And I realized that the people were speaking in Russian, but I knew I had to say the boy's age because everything was being organized by age. So I walked towards a group of kids and the woman and the man. And I said 12, which is 12 in Russian. But I meant to say 11. I just couldn't remember how to say 11. So I said 12, but the person knew that I meant 11 because they repeated back 11, which is actually 11. And someone gave me a packet of food, and I looked at it, and it was like a clear Ziploc with different compartments, and I saw that it was like small squares of food, and I knew that it was bread. It just looked different, and it was like a 10-pack of these small squares, and I knew that you had to, I guess, put them like on the inside of your cheek to let it dissolve, kind of like one of those medications that you take, but it was food though, so people had to consume food this way, I guess, to obtain like calories or to, I'm not sure, but that's what it felt like, that the food had to be given this way and eaten a certain way. So it reminded me of those like emergency packets of food, and also of like just people receiving rations of food because there wasn't enough, and having to go to this place to have access to food. So the other man, when the man gave me the packet, the other man said something like, "Oh, I have to come back," or "It's not that age group's time yet because they're feeding the younger kids right now." So I gave the packet back to the other man who had given it to me, and that's what I remember. So it was like there was a food shortage, and I believe I was in Russia in the dream because people were speaking in Russian, and people had to go to this big house to have access to food rations. But once inside, people were being separated by age, and I got the sense that people did not want to be separated because I heard, "Look at their face when they're separated." And when I let go of the woman's hand, she continued walking, but I looked back and she looked back as well, and she looked very sad. So I continued walking this child, who I believe was supposed to be my son in the dream, to the area where the children went. And I was told that we had to wait because they were serving the younger kids first. And I'm not sure like what to make of this, because I think that it was like there was some type of...
All right, that's enough. So basically the famine, and the scriptures goes into it. So this is the book of Genesis 41, and I'm gonna start at verses 1. It says, 2 full years later, Pharaoh dreamed that he was standing on the bank of the Nile River. And in his dreams, he saw 7 fat, healthy cows. That goes into the, when you go into the King James Version. Matter of fact, let's do this. We'll do a side-by-side comparison. When it says here, and it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine and fat-fleshed, and they fed in the meadow. So that was going into the cattle. Okay, it says 7 fat, healthy cows came up upon the river and began grazing in the marsh grass. And he saw 7 more cows come up behind them from the Nile, but these were scrawny and thin. These cows stood beside the fat cows on the riverbank. And it says, then the scrawny, thin cows ate the seven healthy cow. No, Slakia, it says then the scrawny thin cows ate the seven healthy fat cows. And at this point in the dream, Pharaoh woke up, but he fell asleep again and had a second dream. And this time he saw 7 heads of grain, plump and beautiful, growing on a single stalk. Then 7 more heads of grain appeared, but these were shriveled and withered by the east wind. And these thin heads swallowed up the 7 plump, well-formed heads. Then Pharaoh woke up and realized it was a dream. And the next morning, Pharaoh was very disturbed by the dreams. So he called for all the magicians and wise men of Egypt. And when Pharaoh told them these dreams, not one of them could tell what they meant. But finally, the king's chief cupbearer spoke. Today I've been reminded of my failure, he told Pharaoh. But some time ago you were angry, and the chief baker and me, and you imprisoned us in one palace of the captain of the guard. And one night the chief baker and I each had a dream, and each dream had its own meaning. And there was a young Hebrew man with us in the prison who was a slave of the captain of the guard, and we told him our dreams, and he told us that each of our dreams meant. So basically, Joseph interpreted the dreams that they had. All right, it says, and everything happened just as he had predicted. It says, I was restored to my position as cupbearer, and the chief baker was executed and impaled on a pole. But Pharaoh sent for Joseph at once, and he was quickly brought from the prison. And after he shaved and changed his clothes, he went in and stood before Pharaoh. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, I had a dream last night, and no one here can tell me what it meant, but I've heard that when you hear about dreams, you can interpret it. It says, it is beyond my power to do this, Joseph replied, but the Most High can tell you what it meant and set you at ease. So basically, he broke it down to him that he saw 7 years of famine in Egypt. Okay, and the famine, when it hits here in America, is going to be on a whole different playing field because, like I mentioned earlier, these people operate in the flesh constantly. Okay, they don't believe in fasting. They don't believe in intermittent fasting. These people are not disciplined. Okay, I mean, you got people that say, well, I'll go to the gym and work out, but yet they're not disciplined in their diets. You know, and granted, you know, we all eat some bullshit every once in a while because that's all, you know, really what we have access to is poison. But most people, they eat fast food, you know, from restaurants every day, McDonald's. Here you go to the gym, and all of a sudden, you know, you after the gym, and then you going to Mickey D's and getting you a number 3. You know, totally done away with your workout, man. Because these people have no discipline. Guarantee you, go up to McDonald's up the street. I guarantee you that line is wrapped around the corner every single day. And yet, clearly it's poison. But these people don't care, man, because they have no discipline. They're all about their belly. You know, and it's going to be bad for them because Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Hey, the Lord said it, man. When he brings the judgment here, these people, they're not going to know what to do. All right. What is this? 2 Kings 6. And I'm going to start at verses. The siege of Samaria and cannibalism. So, matter of fact, let's start. Let's start at 24. Scripture says it's better to die of with the sword than die of famine, because that's a slow, agonizing death. And just imagine when food insecurities hit the shelves and they're not delivering foods to these local stores and grocery stores. That's when people are going to start going house to house looking for what they need. You know, if they speculate that you got what they need, then they coming to take it. And it ain't going to be just one. Okay, it's going to be a marauder of folk, because you have people which are called marauders, which basically what happens is that they plot on the have-nots or the haves. It's a war between the have and the have-nots. The people that have, usually you have people plotting against them. So like rich people that have like homesteads, even if you watch that movie 40 Acres, which I'm actually in the process of watching right now, they even showed you in that movie. Okay, even in Homestead, what happened when people was lined up outside the gate, and eventually when they let people in, but then shit went left eventually, you know. But it says here, and it came to pass after this that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his hosts and went up and besieged Samaria, which Samaria is basically northern Israel. All right. And it says here, matter of fact, let me look that up. Samaria, I believe that's northern Israel, if I'm not mistaken. Here's northwest bank. Yep, bingo. Yep, today Samaria is located in the northwest bank, a region that is also referred to as Judea and Samaria. It is situated between two regions of Judea to the south, Galilee to the north. And the area is under the administration of the Palestinian Authority, which some areas also containing Israeli settlements. All right, so this is where it is. This is our land, Judea and Samaria. Bingo. And it says, and there was a great famine in Samaria, and behold, they besieged it, until an ass head was sold for 80 pieces of silver, and a fourth part of calves' dugs for 5 pieces of silver. So they was basically selling bird shit for 5 pieces of silver. Okay, now let's do some research real quick. Let's how much was 5 pieces of silver worth in Bible times, which we still in biblical times. Okay. It says in Bible times, 5 pieces of silver, likely the Roman denarii, were roughly equivalent to 5 days' wages for a common laborer. This translates to the modest sum, not a large amount. You want to go back before Yahweh Shai. It says about a day's wage. You got the denarii. Let's do this. Let's go to Chat GDP. In 2 Kings 6, how much was 5 pieces of silver worth? Okay, so there's some decent information, right? So it says in 2 Kings 6:25, during the siege of Samaria by the Arameans, which are the Syrians, it says the Bible gives us a glimpse into the dire economic and humanitarian conditions by mentioning outrageous prices for food due to famine. And we notice that when inflation hits and hyperinflation, things go up, the dollar loses value, goods become more expensive. So a loaf of bread today may run you, a good loaf of bread may run you about $3-4. Me personally, I get what they called, what's the name of that shit? Salaki, my mind ain't working today's. You know, Jake, man, long day. Long day yesterday. I'm still kind of recovering, but I get the, what is it called? The sourdough bread. Sourdough bread, which is basically 3 ingredients. I go to Aldi's, I may get a loaf of sourdough bread, make $3 and some change, maybe $4, depending on, you know, the pureness of it. You know, but the average loaf of bread, you can find a loaf of bread anywhere between $1.50 to $5-6, depending on, you know, the brand you get. So a loaf of bread today, in time of hyperinflation, a loaf of bread can easily go for $65, easy, depending on the percentage that they're rounding up to, right? But it says there was a great famine in the city, and the siege lasted so long that a donkey's head sold for 80 shekels of silver, and a quarter of calf's dove for 5 shekels. That's a lot of money for that time. 5 shekels of silver bought a quarter of a cab of dove's dung, which is bird shit. It says a shekel was about 11.4 grams, which is a quarter ounce of silver, a 0.4 ounce of silver. So 5 shekels equals 57 grams equals 2 ounces of silver. All right, and I think the price for an ounce of silver today may be like $28, $27. It says today's terms estimated as 2025 silver is roughly $25 per ounce. And that can fluctuate. So 2 ounces equal $50 in today's silver value. So 5 shekels of silver equals $50 of US dollars worth of silver today. This is only a rough economic equivalent, but contextually, this wasn't normal. It says the price was extremely inflated due to famine, because you have what they call supply and demand. But it reads, under normal conditions, 5 shekels of silver wouldn't be spent on something as insignificant or inedible as dove's dung, meaning that that's not even food. It says, which scholars think may have been actual bird droppings used for fuel or possibly food in extreme desperation, or possibly a slang term for very poor quality food like wild seeds or cheap posts. So 5 shekels was a desperate price for an item of little to no nutritional value, highlighting the severity of the famine during the siege. So there you go. So it's not a coincidence, or it's not surprising that people are going to resort to cannibalism. All right. And it goes into it in the same chapter. So it says here, as the king of Israel was passing upon the wall, there cried a woman unto him, saying, help, my lord, O king. And he said, if Yahweh does not help thee, when shall I help thee? Out of the barn floor, out of the winepress. And the king said unto her, what aileth thee? And she answered, this woman said unto me, give thy son, that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow. So we boiled my son, and did eat him. And I said unto her on the next day, give thy son, that we may eat him. And she hid her son. All right, so that's the point. So you see, cannibalism is going on in a big way. And that's coming back in a big way, because we understand how you quiches out there. We understand how you have a oversaturated appetite. Okay, like when I go out to eat sometime, I mean, when I go to like a little place on a weekend, I go and give me some comfort food or whatever. I mean, the black women and being, I mean, these bitches are eating nachos, they're eating steak, they're eating cheeseburgers. Okay, they're eating big dishes, meat. Like I was at this one place last week, and this one Keisha, bro, she had a big ass slab of ribs, man. And I'm thinking, I'm like, ain't no way in hell her body is designed to break all that shit down. Like, just imagine how they smell, man. And I'm just in the back of my mind, because I peep things. I'm a people watcher, man. And I mean, she's literally just eating this, and I ain't see no vegetables, no nothing. You know, like if I go get a burger or like a chicken sandwich or something, or some strips, whatever, man, some bullshit, I'm gonna have a side of vegetables or fruit. You know, unless I'm just that hungry to the point I need like some carbs or something. You know, but it was no vegetables, no nothing. And I'm talking about these chicks be eating. I mean, these chicks be eating fucking chicken nachos with sour cream and all that dairy. And I'm just like, ain't no way in hell. So just imagine when these stores go down, and Trump already getting ready to cut EBT. So just imagine when the child support payments and all that other stuff stop coming. It's going to be bad news for you people. And it already is, you know. Let's go to another precept. Ezekiel 7. And I'm going to start at verses. Let's start at verses 14. It says, they have blown the trumpet, even to make all ready, but none go to the battle. For my wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. The sword is without, and a pestilence and famine within, and he that is in the field should die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence should devour him. Okay, famine is going to hit these cities because most people are concentrated into the inner cities. You know, this is where your retail stores are, your bodegas, your corner stores, your Family Dollars. All these places are going to be scarce of food. So once the scarcity comes, people are going to be going in these stores, finding what they can find, if anything. Then they're going to be hitting up these fast food restaurants, hitting up schools, hitting up hotels, corporate buildings, just to see what they got in backstock, and there ain't going to be nothing there. Okay, like that game, The Last of Us, if you pay attention to, every place was ransacked because people are going to be looking for things to eat. You know, this is why they tell you to stock up and put, goods here and there. You know, you got an exceptional amount of canned goods and have water and rice and beans, non-perishables on deck. That way when all hell break loose, you will have something to eat, because you ain't going to have luxury to go to and get your 5-star meal. Okay, sooner than later, KFC going to be a luxury for people. And when shit hits the fan, they start selling you a chicken strip dinner for $30, man. People going to be fighting over that. It's going to get bad, man. And it says, but they that escape of them should escape and should be on the mountains like doves of the valleys, all of them mourning everyone for his iniquity. And all hands should be feeble, and all knees should be weak as water. And they also should gird themselves with sackcloth. Horror should cover them, and shame should be upon all faces, and baldness upon all heads. And they should cast their silver in the streets, and their gold should be removed, and their silver and their gold should not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord. And they should not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. So, man, this is going to get real, real sinister quick. And we in a time now that anything at any moment can happen, because allegedly China is dumping the U.S. treasuries. So, yeah, brothers, man, a couple more precepts and I'll end it. But famine will be something that's the straw that's going to break the camel's back. That's when people are going to realize, wait a minute, something is very wrong. All right, verse 22. And suddenly should the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses should be suddenly found empty. It says suddenly, meaning that it's going to come within a whim. These trucks going to stop delivering, and that's murder, she wrote. And the trumpet should give a sound, which when every man hear it, they should suddenly be afraid. And at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. So this is going to bring in civil unrest, because eventually homie down the block or homie across the hall from you, if he speculate you got food and he got to feed his wife and his kids, he's coming to pay you a visit. Okay, and that's going to end either two ways. Either he's going to be put down, or he's going to put you down and take what you got. Okay, it's called looting. And it says, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein, and the springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they should not run. Yeah, this society is going to come to a abrupt halt, and they're going to allow it to get so out of control, and then the ultimate solution is going to be the mark of the beast. You know, they're going to let you people devour each other for some time, and they're going to come with the solution. You know, they may advertise that, well, yeah, you got to get the chip if you want ration and foods and you need shelter, then you got to get the RFID chip. And most people are going to get it because they're not ready for the type of adversity that's getting ready to hit this place. You see? Second Esdras 15. And I'm going to start at verses 49. It says, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. Okay? And I'm going to go down a little bit to verses 56. It says, like as thou hast done it to my chosen, says the Lord, even so shall Yahweh do unto thee, and shall deliver thee into mischief. And thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy city should be broken down. All thy should perish with the sword in the field, because it's going to be civil war. It says, and they that be in the mountains shall die of hunger, and eat their own flesh, and drink their own blood, for the very hunger of bread and thirst of water. That's cannibalism right there. So these people are going to eat each other, man. All right. So Keisha having all those kids, hey, they're just going to be basically meat they're going to be basically food for the famine, because she's going to eat them kids, man. Vice versa. But anyway, with that, all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai by Hashem Rakakwadash. Lord's will you edify. Until the next lesson. Shalom.